I'm Katie Osuna, and I'm the host of Copper and Heat Radio, a 2-time James Beard Award-winning podcast about the forces that shape our meals. I started this podcast back in 2019 when I was working in Michelin-starred restaurants and noticing all of these social interactions around me. I had a lot of questions about the culture of restaurants and the systems we operated in.
I think the restaurant world's in for a reckoning.
Restaurants are slow to change because everything's made on the smallest margins.
Value is completely arbitrary, right?
What began as a podcast to process my way through working in kitchens as a woman has grown.
If the conversation is a crackdown on the border, then do you want a $30 burger? Because that's one of the consequences of this.
There's just a certain financial reality to making certain businesses exist. And there's a reason that delivery didn't exist in a lot of markets for a lot of years. And it's because it's incredibly low margin.
How a cuisine climbs in prestige and value. This happened to Japanese cuisine. This happened to Italian cuisine right in front of our eyes.
Listen wherever you get your podcasts. And now on Heritage Radio Network.
You're listening to Heritage Radio Network.
The southern highlands of Jalisco have become known for delicious tequila. But back in 1937, before anyone was paying attention to the delicious agaves growing in this community, Indalecio Núñez Muro planted his flag here and began making tequila. His descendants are still making it here today under their family-owned brand, Tequila El Viejito, under the watchful eye and exceptional palate of Maestra Tequilera Karina Rojo. Tequila El Viejito both preserves the traditions of tequila making in Jalisco's southern highlands and also preserves the environment. In addition to earning state certification as a green enterprise, Tequila El Viejito has initiated a program in which they're beginning to germinate their agave from seed, an endeavor meant to preserve genetic diversity of the key ingredient to tequila. So grab a bottle of the original tequila from Jalisco's southern highlands. Grab a bottle of Tequila El Viejito today.
Hey, Gringex Chicagoans. I'm Linda from Cena Secreto. If you are in the neighborhood, you should look up Cena Secreto on Instagram. See if I'm hosting any dinners or tastings upcoming. Can't wait to see ya. Seyna Secreto. Secret with an O.
Agave Road Trip. Agave Road Trip. I'm Wu Bei.
I'm Linda Sullivan.
And this is Agave Road Trip, the critically acclaimed award-winning podcast that helps Gringex bartenders better understand agave
spirits.
Keep going.
Roll Mexico. Just like to change it up.
Yeah, it's good to change up. That's why I'm wearing a wig today. So, happy Easter, by the way, speaking of the wig. Linda.
Lou.
You know, I was just recently in Mexico visiting mezcaleros.
Ooh, sounds good.
Yeah, it does. It sounds great. And I had a conversation with a mezcalero that made me feel like maybe I shouldn't be in Mexico.
Oh my gosh, this is the episode. All Lou's enemies, please tune in.
Man, we'd like double the downloads.
Let's go. Okay, why was that? That's an interesting convo.
Well, look, so, you know, I recognize the benefits of mezcal geeks on rural Mexico.
Right.
You know, like
just our existence, not heading there physically, just existing and being part of.
Well, I think it's sort of both.
Okay.
It's both and, right?
Okay.
Yeah, I like that. Where, you know, I think about this one specific mezcalero that I've been visiting since 2015.
Okay.
And
so you guys have built a long friendship, that 10 years.
Oh, I don't know if you call it a friendship. It's funny. I was just listening to The Hidden Brain.
Oh, yeah, I love Shankar Vedantam.
Oh, man, that dude rocks.
I know, he's great.
So the episode and I feel like they do a lot of reruns on this.
Well, now that they released, like a lot of folks are releasing the Patreon version. And so sometimes I think they're replaying old ones because the good ones are going to the richer folks.
Oh, the richer folks. Well, so... the episode today, they were talking about, and we'll put a link on the webpage because I really do like the show. I get so much out of that show. So I should probably be on the Patreon.
Is it the Relationship 2.0 series? Is that the one you listened to today or earlier?
Oh, I don't know. It was about strong connections and weak connections.
Oh, yeah. It's part of that series.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So, I was thinking about that weak connections, and you're saying like I have this strong friendship with this. Oh yeah,
and you were like, it's kind of a weak friendship.
Well, it's not a weak friendship, but it's a weak connection.
Okay.
And I think largely because I just don't know Spanish, right?
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, that's a big one, and it depends on who you're with in a lot of these instances when you're visiting.
Oh, I don't even think it's like who's interpreting for me or for them. No, because I think if you're not having a direct conversation, it's hard to have a...
You're more alluding to the fact that like you can't get... It hasn't been easy to get beyond a certain like level of connection, largely because you're not speaking the same language and there's like intimacy in that.
Yeah, though I think maybe that has more to do... Boy, this is not what, this might end up being two episodes.
That's okay.
This might be it might be a part 1, part 2 episode.
Sometimes when we rabbit trail, we just save it for later.
Well, no, but like, I think about, now that we're having that conversation, it makes me think about the difference in how we view it. Like if you asked this mezcalero, like, are you friends with Lou? He might say, oh my gosh, yes. And I think about
Or he might say, who's Lou?
The guy with the black leather wallet falling apart. Oh, that guy.
Oh, that guy.
But so my friends Jen and Ad. Oh, and your friends Jen and Adam.
Oh, yeah. Yay. Hi, Jen and Adam.
Hi. They tell a story about another mezcalero. And I'm specifically not mentioning names because I don't want to embarrass her out or, I just... Right.
Yeah, not the point. The anecdote is driving towards the point, not the specific.
Yeah, so like they tell this story. Well, I met the same mezcalero. The first time I met him, when I left, he started weeping, which seemed really weird to me. And, like for him, there was a strong connection, I think, even though we didn't speak the same language.
That's a really important moment.
Well, to him it was, and to me it wasn't, and it was important to me that it wasn't important. You think that makes sense? But then that same mezcalero had the same feeling, maybe about everybody who visits, right? Like I know this mezcalero through a brand owner who sources from him, and so I only know that Jen and Adam have gone to see them, but. They ended up going back to see him again because the brand owner said, oh, yeah, he was asking about you.
Oh.
After one meeting, like one day.
Oh, yeah. So you're kind of highlighting here this detail of like how crucial can like a single meeting be? Do we have some of us that inner sense of like, ooh, I got a good read on that person. I like them. I want them back.
Maybe, and maybe this is the difference between Mexico and the U.S. Because how often has somebody said to you in Mexico, this is your home?
Oh, every time I've stepped anywhere.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Incredible hospitality.
Right. And so often I've taken that as sort of, the kind of thing that we might say to somebody, hey, let's get together.
Oh, totally.
Right?
Yes.
But then I wonder, like, is that the difference between Mexico and the USA?
Right.
Is it the difference between rural and urban? Because then I think about like an anecdote with Roy where somebody had referred to him while we were traveling as their son, and he was clearly uncomfortable with that characterization. It's like, well, no, I have a mother. And right, and I don't.
But they were expressing closeness, perhaps, in that sort of naming.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting, huh?
Yeah, but so all of that, I guess it's a long tee up to say. I was down in Mexico visiting mezcalerxs, and one of those mezcalerxs pulled out a bunch of, and I've been visiting this particular mezcalerxs for 10 years, literally a decade, right? And I'm pretty used to what I'm going to have to drink when I visit.
Okay.
And they pulled out all of these expressions that I, like, if I'd seen them before, I didn't remember it. Like maybe one or two, but suddenly this seemed to be about a third of what they had to share. And they were very specifically expressions that were made with adjuncts, we'll say, or maybe so additives is the word.
Destilado con, like fruits and stuff.
Pineapple, dragon fruit, cannabis. You know,
it sounds delicious. Oh my gosh, it's 420 today. I'm glad that they're using cannabis.
It is 420 today.
All right, mezcalerxs.
and cactus tuna, and then a con gusano.
Okay, but you're saying in your brain before this experience, you had a different Rolodex or a different like menu of what they typically offer. And what you have had at this spot before.
Yeah. And again, like maybe I'm not remembering having this once or twice with them.
Right.
But definitely not this to this extent.
Well, because a lot of times there'll be like one, garrafone or something with a piece of tape, and we're all like, "Hey, what's that one?"
Yeah.
And it's like surprise. It's something they drink or use in the town, and it's like destilado con some strange rodent animal or something. Not strange, just something that you don't expect.
Wait, were you with me with strange rodent animal?
Yes.
Oh yeah, okay. Accompany it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so funny. Yeah.
That was the one that was coming to my mind because I really like that mezcalera, the la mama.
Oh my God!
But that's okay. So I'm thinking like every once in a while, every once in a while you get a one-off. They were just almost like they were playing around, and it's so fun.
Yeah.
But what you're saying is there was more because of the number of new and different to you, new to you, and different styles. You were noticing a shift.
Right. I was like, oh, hang on a second. What's going on here? So
so what was going on there?
So I've got the actual audio of. Oh. Yeah. In fact, young Roy was with me, or I was with him, or we were with each other.
Love it.
Yeah. And so did a quick interview, but I don't want to run the audio tape because again, I feel kind of uncomfortable.
Like outing the anonymity of this person.
Yeah.
And because do you think it will be assumed as a criticism? What you're observing and we're talking about?
I think some people will see it as a criticism. I don't, but I don't I don't know. For some reason, I'm not feeling comfortable saying the name. Anyway,
totally fair.
Anyway, so we asked them, okay, so is this something that you've done traditionally? Are these expressions that they'd been making for years or some return to a lost family tradition? And the very direct answer was, I do it because many people like it that way. That's how I make sales.
That's pretty straightforward.
Very straightforward.
Yeah. Now, I assume in this family, it's like a generational history of agave production, right? Their parents and their parents' parents and et cetera. Okay. So that's where you were kind of thinking in your mind, hey, are you pulling back something that was, lost in the recipe book, so to speak? And no, their answer was no, this is a modern change.
Right.
We're doing this because the people who want to drink it want this. So we're giving the people what the people want.
Right. And and so that brought me back in my head to a trip I had taken with Jason Cox. And I'm 99% sure I've even told this anecdote. That I've shared this anecdote before on the podcast, but I'm going to share it again because I think it's an important one. Is Jason said to me on one of our 14-hour day drives that it made him uncomfortable every time he bought a batch from a mezcalerxs. That
anyone or a specific
anyone.
Really?
Because he was worried. I mean, there's so much heart in that guy, right?
Yeah, I've really grown to appreciate the way he does his business.
Yeah.
For anyone who doesn't know Jason, he runs Cinco Sentidos.
Thank you.
And he's a tall white guy, which I think is important going into a community that, could be very small and knit together. And then you're definitely, here we are, we're the Gringexes.
Yeah. He also has a couple of rum brands too.
Oh, he does?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, those are newer. Right?
Actually, well, I mean, yes, newer than Cinco Sentidos, but I think like Cañada has been around since pre-pandemic.
Oh, okay. Catch up, Linda. Stay up to date, Linda.
Yeah, and then the other rum brand, something Serrano.
Oh, I don't know that one.
Well, anyway, so he's got like a couple of rum brands from Oaxaca as well. But, the point to the anecdote is, like, he's so worried just by buying a batch from somebody that he's changing the fabric of the community. And when he said that to me, I thought, this guy's just too sensitive. I love the thoughtfulness of it, but I mean, this is literally your business that you're in, and they're agreeing to it. Right? But so here's the point that I'm getting to, relating that anecdote where I was like, come on, chill out, dude. Connecting that anecdote to this conversation
and you're now newer experience.
Yeah, separated by like 8 years.
And you're feeling something. You're feeling a little flag go up, and like, oh, maybe Jason wasn't so crazy when he said that.
Oh, he's definitely crazy, but maybe he wasn't wrong. No, like, so what the flag that went off in my head is, am I actually changing the fabric of these communities and really futzing with their cultural heritage just by asking a question? And
geez, that seems like an overbearing responsibility to hold for curiosity.
Well, I get that, but imagine that you're this mezcalerxs and you're selling stuff, and the people that are buying it from you ask you, do you have anything with Gusano? Do you have anything distilled through? I know that there's somebody in this community who does a lot of destilado con. Mm-hmm. Right? And so it could be like somebody was in Chicago drinking a destilado from this community that was distilled through, I don't know, let's say grapefruit and raspberries, and saw on the label, oh, this was made in the town of Burley-Bang. I'm going to just say Burley-Bang because I'm trying to be anonymous again.
I love it.
And so somebody goes to Mexico and visits Burley-Bang and visits a mezcalerxs and says, hey, is there any chance you've got something distilled through grapefruit and raspberry? And they hear this like 3 times. They go, I guess maybe I should have something distilled through.
Exactly.
At which point, like, is that the tipping point of moving from cultural heritage to commodity? I
mean, I totally hear what you're saying. And I think that's, even the mindset that you're talking about that you initially disagreed with, when Jason put it forth, I love that mindset. Right? Mm-hmm. Just to go in, at least asking the question of how am I existing as an impact here?
Right.
But at the same time, that feels a little like slippery slope theory. Like, how far are you going to go back and say, we live in a world like woven fabric of people. Like, we have to interact. We have to ask questions. To supply and demand makes economies run.
Yes, it does, but in running the economies, are we literally running over the cultural heritage?
I think that's too much to say by asking a question. You're running over heritage. That seems a little too bananas.
Well, and in fact, there was a destilado through banana.
Perfect. I set that one up.
You did, yeah. I don't want you to hear this as Lou stays awake at night worrying, right? Like, there's not that, but I think about the positives, right? And to go back to that story that I don't think I finished, that mezcalero that I visited first in 2015, did not look physically well. And when I go and visit that exact same mezcalero today, he looks great. Like, he's clearly physically healthier. He's got better clothes. His
Right.
home and his Palenque look better.
So that's the other parenthesis, is that something is going well for him. So do you shit on this idea of responding to
Did you
the
just
desire?
swear on the podcast?
Yeah, it's not the first time, is it? Can I not swear on this podcast?
Roy, you know what to do.
No!
So,
Don't
I'm
do
sorry,
it,
but
Roy.
I was so distracted by the swear word, I forgot what you were saying.
Oh, yeah, because your mouth is full of roses and rainbows. Get out of here.
Well, yes, I ate rainbows for breakfast.
I mean, like, that's the other part of the rub, which is why so clearly we're kind of like holding many things that disagree here and just batting them around, trying to get to like a best practice, sort of. But you're saying my observation was that things were thumbs up here. Things were improved. And the correlation is they were potentially improved because people were buying the destilado con pineapple and etc.
Right. And well, but I'm also, boy, that's a really nice way to phrase it. And understand, this is a different interaction, right? The
Right. Yes.
But your point is actually a good one. And I've seen very similar things with this Mezcalero, not to the extent, but the same kind of things.
Yeah.
But my observation was life was improved.
Yeah.
And I think physically improved, right? But I wonder if my view of improvement isn't warped by my world. And in other words, like maybe... You know what? You get what I'm saying?
Like in your brain, you're creating, you're divining the check boxes for what improved means, and you're saying, I haven't actually asked that mezcalerxs if they feel like their life has improved.
Yeah. Well, and even if I ask them, like, are they the ones who can gauge as well as either their elders in the town or their children? Because like how the situation is changing so significantly and so rapidly in these communities, I'm not even sure how you evaluate that and who's the right person to evaluate it.
Right. It kind of feels a little like playing God to be the evaluator of that, you know?
Yeah, you know, like this brings my mind around to during the pandemic, Randall Stockton reached out to me because he didn't reach out to me. In fact, he just posted on Facebook that he wanted to fundraise for families in Chichicapam, San Baltazar, Chichicapam, Oaxaca, because when the whole lockdown happened, these communities had become so reliant on the tourist dollars, literally the mezcal tourism dollars.
And then when that stopped, there was a huge stream of revenue that they were not taking in.
Which literally affected the food security in that community.
Yeah.
So we did the fundraising. He ran the program and tried to repair some of the damage that in essence we had done by making this community so reliant and sort of addicted to the mezcal tourism dollars, as small as those may be.
I know that's a tricky one. It also makes me think of, gosh, I can't remember who taught me this, but this was somebody, I think, like in a Jason type role, right? Yeah. Maybe, they're bringing agave spirits in from Mexico. I can't quite remember, but the concept or the anecdote, the piece of information I took away from it was that so much positive financial dollars are coming into these communities such that a large population of rural Mexicans who would have felt previously like maybe they needed to try and get to America, the United States of America, to try and make money for their family because there wasn't a source of revenue that was stable enough for them in their communities. But the mezcal production world makes it stable enough so that these people can stay in their homes with their families together and not going somewhere else in search of money because the money is right there now. Right. So I think of that a lot, and that I would have to definitely hold that concept in one hand while also exploring this idea of like how much is our desire forcing, air quotes, because it's not forcing, but it really primes an easy decision for the mezcalerxs to go that direction. How much are our desires, what we drink, what we're asking for, whatever cool, novel, thing we want, how much is that negatively affecting the space when even by purchasing it, it's a positive effect?
Right.
Right.
Yeah,
Oy.
God. Yeah, it's funny. This reminds me of Chuck Klosterman's novel. And maybe he's got more than one now. But his first novel, I think that Downtown Owl High.
I didn't read that one. I was thinking of the one with all the buildings on the cover.
Yeah, I don't know the name of that one. But Chuck, at the time I was doing a little bit of work with him, doing some T-shirts with him.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, really nice guy. But he... I was excited to do the shirts because I'd been reading his nonfiction for a long time. And then he sent me an advanced copy so I could figure out what the shirt would be.
Okay.
And I was very suddenly uncomfortable with the novel because there was a part of it that suggested to me that Chuck's worldview was that nothing mattered, that whatever we do doesn't matter, that in essence, the universal thump is just going to screw you anyway.
Oh.
And
you felt like that was his opinion?
I thought that was the message
novel?
that he was sending.
Okay.
And so I wrote him that like an email. It's like, Chuck, I'm really uncomfortable with that idea. And he said, no, it's the opposite. It's that everything matters. And that's sort of where my head is on this. And you're not always sure the direction that it matters. And, and then my mind goes to the idea that the road to hell is paved with good intentions.
Oh.
But I think it's also paved with bad intentions.
Well, for sure. That's how it gets to be a road in the first place. Little bricks of bad intention, little cobblestone path.
Yeah. So, I think we are going to make this 2 episodes because I want to wrap here, but I want to explore this idea from a different angle, from that opposite angle. I think the only way to wrap this episode because we almost never have an actual conclusion, but I think the only conclusion here really is that we need a second episode to talk about the other side of this.
Okay, I think that's fair.
Okay.
I like one of the through lines that I see in this conversation is something that I have mentioned a dozen times in life and on this podcast, I think, is that posture of curiosity. I see that, at least even in this discussion, in the mobile studio, and the greater conversation is like, okay, we're not sure where we're wrapping, but at least we're curious about it. High five to us.
Yeah, there you go. Go us. Team us. Okay, Linda, I'll catch you in 2 minutes.
Okay, see you later, Team us.
Hasta pronto. You've been listening to Agave Road Trip, the critically acclaimed award-winning podcast that helps Gringex bartenders better understand agave spirits, and rural Mexico. We're blessed with sound engineering by Roy Sierra and a theme song performed by Gabriel Oliveira and Marco Ricos. Sign up to become a road tripper and listen to more episodes at agaveroadtrip.com. If you enjoyed this podcast, please let us know. And if you hated it, well, I'm sure you'll let us know that too. You can also find us on Facebook and Instagram at Agave Road Trip. Agave Road Trip is a production of 10 Angry Pit Bulls, Inc. Agave Road Trip is powered by Simplecast. Thank you for listening to Heritage Radio Network. Heritage Radio Network is food radio supported by you. For our freshest content, subscribe to our newsletter. To subscribe to the Heritage Radio newsletter, enter your email at the bottom of our website, heritageradionetwork.org. Connect with Heritage Radio Network on Instagram and Twitter at heritage_radio. You can also find Heritage Radio Network at facebook.com/Heritage Radio Network. Heritage Radio Network is a nonprofit organization using the power of educational storytelling about food to build a more equitable, resilient food system. Heritage Radio Network couldn't do that without support from listeners like you. Become a part of the world's most innovative community today. Subscribe to the shows you like. Tell your friends. And please join the Heritage Radio Network family by becoming a member. To become a member of the Heritage Radio Network, click on the beating heart of our homepage. Heritage Radio Network can become addictive. Programming you hear on Heritage Radio Network might lead you to eat, drink, and listen to more programming on Heritage Radio Network. If you drink, please do not drink and drive. Drink responsibly. Drive responsibly. Eat responsibly too. And listen to Heritage Radio Network responsibly. To listen to Heritage Radio Network
Network responsibly. Wear protective earbuds. While wearing protective earbuds, do not drive. Do not walk either. Sit in a comfortable chair. If that comfortable chair has a hard seat, please remember to stretch every 30 minutes. If you stretch every 30 minutes, please stay within your defined stressing capacity. And consult a doctor who specializes in stretching. If you don't have a doctor, maybe Dr. Ryan Acock, the Cocktail MD, can help you out. Thanks for listening.
Agave Road Trip out.
I'm Katie Osuna, and I'm the host of Copper and Heat Radio, a 2-time James Beard Award-winning podcast about the forces that shape our meals. I started this podcast back in 2019 when I was working in Michelin-starred restaurants and noticing all of these social interactions around me. I had a lot of questions about the culture of restaurants and the systems we operated in.
I think the restaurant world's in for a reckoning.
Restaurants are slow to change because everything's made on the smallest margins.
Value is completely arbitrary, right?
What began as a podcast to process my way through working in kitchens as a woman has grown.
If the conversation is a crackdown on the border, then do you want a $30 burger? Because that's one of the consequences of this.
There's just a certain financial reality to making certain businesses exist. And there's a reason that delivery didn't exist in a lot of markets for a lot of years. And it's because it's incredibly low margin.
How a cuisine climbs in prestige and value. This happened to Japanese cuisine, this happened to Italian cuisine right in front of our eyes.
Listen wherever you get your podcasts. And now on Heritage Radio Network.